What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Real Ones Canes podcast. The man sitting next to me virtually is Cam Underwood.
Yo.
He is managing editor at StateofTheU. Go check out all of the great work that Cam and his staff do at StateofTheU.com. It is open 24/7, 365. We've got a bunch of Miami Hurricanes draft stuff up there, so go check it out. You can follow Cam on the Twitter sphere at Underwood Sports. I am Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast. Cam, 9 Miami Hurricanes were drafted. Thank the good Lord for Mario Cristobal and player development.
Yeah, and talent acquisition as well, because you got to Jimmy's and Joe's go with the X's and O's. So yeah, man, I think that was tied for third most players drafted from any team, and that's just the beginning, man.
In the draft, I think we were fourth. I think
it was 11, 10, and then
I will check while you're talking.
Yeah, okay, but yeah, I mean, way up there, and we should have been. This is what we've been building here, and it's only going up from here when you see just the way that the players are being developed. And, for everybody who was drafted in the first round, they were at Miami for 3 years. And I know that, Mesidor started off elsewhere, but, he was, a long time. 4 years, actually, and he didn't even play all of them because he got injured. And it was funny. I was looking back at my early draft preview after last year's draft, after the Cam Ward draft. Said, okay, cool. Look at the roster. Who could possibly be a draft pick next year? I had Akeem Mesidor as between a 5th to a 7th at this time a year ago. But we all know the story. He lost 25, 30 pounds. He was playing inside-outside combos, had non-playing outside, got healthy, and was a game wrecker along with Ruben Bain. But yeah, and I looked at, other early mock drafts and things. But to get him to the point where he went from a fringe draft prospect at all to first round development. Bain was here his entire career. Yep. Development. And he lost his sophomore year because he got injured on the second play of the game at Florida and then basically lost a season.
Before you continue, I just want to admit to the audience that I don't know how to read and I don't understand ties. That's where I got fourth, because it is third, but third tied with other schools. And then I just was like, oh, okay, well, we're fourth, but they have 9 too. Oh, okay, that's a tie. Yeah, okay, never mind. We're good.
So the short story, long story short, Cam was right.
Yes, correct. As always, Cam was right.
Got it. Yeah. Not as always, but I want my credit when I get it, because I will eat crow when it's time to eat crow, but I also want my credit when I am right. But what I was saying is, in terms of development, everybody here developed. Everybody here developed, and everybody here got drafted. Markel Bell, coming from JUCO, 2 years to play 2, and he goes in the second round, right? This wasn't a guy who sat around and just, toiled away. He came in, and then Jalen Rivers got hurt last year, and he stepped in the left tackle immediately game 5 and played, rotationally there last year with the 6-starter line, rotating thing, and then played pretty much every snap there. But from where he started when he got here to where he ended up, Anes Cooper, big 435, 40, 50 pounds when he enrolled early out of high school, reshaped his body. He took over that right guard spot the 5th game of his freshman year and started every game from then the last 4 years. That's a 3-star. That's development. And so credit to Mario Cristobal, credit to the staff, and it's only up from here. Miami is getting to the point now where the logo being associated with a player gives the benefit of the doubt instead of gives the doubt over the benefit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I'm here for it.
Yeah, and it's been not quick, but it's been quite the turnaround as far as that brand association goes from pre-Mario Cristobal to, what was the story, right? Mario was on a plane waiting for one Cane to be drafted in the 7th round.
John Ford.
Yeah. And that was oh, wow, we continue our draft streak. And barely. And it was in the 7th round. Hey, North Carolina, we know how it feels. Oh, did I say that out loud? Anyways.
Yeah, but look, we keep growing, man. We went from there, which was almost losing the streak, and now 3 first rounders, 9 overall. and it's just going to continue to get even better. And yeah, just I love it. I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
All right, so I just want to go through that just in case people tuned out, didn't watch the second day, didn't watch the third day, still kind of. I just want to go through just the list of who was drafted and then the undrafted free agents, and then we can analyze and break it down if you have any thoughts on where they went and who went too high, who went too low, all that stuff. So Francis Maui-Noah goes at number 10 to the Giants. Ruben Bain Jr. goes at number 15 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep.
Akeem Mesidor, as Cam said, went number 22 to the Chargers. Carson Beck was drafted number 1, I think, in the third round.
Yep.
Number 65 to the Arizona Cardinals. Offensive lineman Markel Bell, number 68, right after Carson Beck to the Philadelphia Eagles. Jacoby Thomas was an interesting one. We'll talk about this. Number 98 to the Minnesota Vikings. Keontae Scott, 116 to the Buccaneers, joining Bain. Inez Cooper, 188 to the Jets. CJ Daniels, 197 to the Los Angeles Rams. And then as far as the undrafted free agents, in no particular order, James Brockermeyer signed with the Atlanta Falcons. Wesley Bissain signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Keelan Marion signed with the Atlanta Falcons. David Blay signs with my New England Patriots. And Carter Davis got a minicamp invite to the Chiefs. So that's the roundup of everyone that has either been drafted or signed. That is very good. We like that. Now let's dig into where people were drafted. What is the biggest surprise, either good or bad, as far as who went where in what position?
Overall, I mean, I think that Bain falling to 15 was kind of ridiculous, holistically. Maui-Noah at 10, I get it. I thought both of those guys were going to go single-digit picks, to be perfectly honest. And I saw Tom Fornelli of CBS Sports and Cover 3 podcasts, if you guys listen to other podcasts, in his writing job at CBS, he predicted or projected that Tampa was going to trade up to 7 to get Bain in his final mock draft. So he's like, yo, they got the player that I think they really wanted and didn't have to like spend other draft capital to move up to go get him. That's a win for them. But I think, yeah, a little ridiculous that he only went 15th. I thought he should have went higher. Keontae Scott going in the 4th, I thought was low. I thought was very low.
Well, I also was surprised that Jacoby Thomas went off the board before him.
Right. That was going to be my follow-up point. Yeah,
right,
that pair of things. Keontae Scott in the 4th and then Jacoby Thomas before him in the 3rd. I think the Jacoby Thomas in the 3rd fit. I think the Keontae Scott, I don't know, like he played his ass off. He tested out of the, out the frame.
I mean, had he not gotten hurt
and won the Thorpe like he should have,
he would have, right. Like there's a good chance he would have won the Thorpe.
Yeah.
And he got back and he, showed out in all of the workouts and the combine and all of that. So,
yeah.
That was really surprising. But, the draft is like, listen, I don't claim to be a draftnik. I'm not Mel Kiper Jr., although he's not the best at the mock drafts anymore. So, what have you. But so I don't claim to understand what teams are thinking, but I certainly thought Keontae Scott would go higher. And then as far as the rest of the draft after that, I don't think I was too surprised really at anything that happened after that.
The only thing in comparison, and it's an external comparison, Ty Simpson at 13 and Carson Beck at 35 is ridiculous. Okay, I could not believe that. I could not believe they took him at 13.
I could not believe that Ty Simpson went that high.
Right.
Regardless of whether he went above or below Carson Beck. Yeah. Like, that was ridiculous. But I will say this, like, there's got to be times, and this is just me watching and reading post-draft, like, listen, if a coach falls in love with a player, and it's just like, this is the guy, especially at quarterback, because it's the most important position in sports, arguably, right? Mm-hmm. If you fall in love with a guy, and it's just like, this is my guy, regardless, no one's talking me out of this, no one, whatever, then I guess you go get him, even if it's a reach, what have you.
But it's a reach for somebody else. And, I tell, my good buddy Fred, who I talked to about the draft, because he's a big draft Nick, he's a fan of that same ridiculous team. I was going to say something very inappropriate, but he's a fan of the same team that you are, even though he's from there and is from Lakeland, Florida,
I think
whatever.
We need a group chat. Come on.
I will do no such thing. And I've actually put an embargo where I say I don't talk about my team, so you don't talk about your team. So two-way street. Anyways, something that I say to him all the time is it only takes one team. It only takes one.
Yeah.
So we can all say it's an overpay, it's an overdraft, it's a da-da-da-da. Hey, y'all can think what you think. We think what we think. That's our guy. So I mean, look, there, free will exists. They can make choices. My only thing is I think that Carson Beck and Ty Simpson are way more similar than different. And the space of 19 and 32, 41, 51 picks between them, 52 picks, whatever it is. No. That's 52 picks between 13 and 65. No, I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
Well,
the difference.
Well, what I was going to say is once Ty Simpson went that early, I was saying to my kid, I was like, Carson Beck's might get drafted like at the end of the first round. Like he's going to move up because Ty Simpson got drafted so early. Some other team is going to want a quarterback in there, and he didn't go in the first. And then I thought for sure he's going in the second round. And then that didn't happen, but he went number one in the third round, which is fine. But it was interesting how the draft played out, where like there was a bunch of teams that passed up on Carson that could have definitely used a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, and these things happen. There's teams that passed up on Bain or even drafted other defenders where I think that they made a poor choice. But hey, whatever. Again, free will exists. They can make choices. The only other thing that I want to say is one of my comparisons that again I was making to a couple friends offline was if the Eagles got Jordan Mailata after his rugby career in New Zealand, Australia, wherever, and then kind of parked him for a couple of years and taught him how to play offensive line at this level. And now he's been all pro starting left tackle. Why could a team not do something similar with Markel Bell? Understanding he probably still needs a little bit of growth and development before he hits the field. And then the Eagles actually do it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a par level comparison there. Like, oh, the thing that I said was like kind of formational for like the growth path that they could take with a Markel Bell of a team. The exact team did it. So with the Eagles. So I thought that was prohibition for me. I thought that fit. And I think, there's arguments to be made that maybe he was a little bit overdrafted. But again, when you're 6'9", 345 pounds and move like that, dog, there's very few people who are built that size. So you're going to go get him. But otherwise, I think I felt comfortable. The only one I really kind of have a quibble with about not getting drafted is probably Wesley Bissainthe.
So again, it almost sometimes works out to your benefit to not get drafted in like the 7th round and to wait to be an undrafted free agent. So, I thought he was going to get drafted maybe in the 6th or the 7th. Yeah. But I don't feel bad for him. Having the opportunity to kind of choose where he wants to try to make a roster, so and ended up in Kansas City is a good spot to end up for anyone. So
former King Deion Bush had a great career out there too. So
no doubt about it. So Cam Ward gets drafted first last year. Carson Beck gets drafted this year. Darian Mensah, we hope, gets drafted next year. And I think that's the first time in history that 3 Miami Hurricane quarterbacks will get drafted back to back to back. Because I think we've only had 2. I think we've only had one after the other. Okay. And that's something for a school that when I was growing up was quarterback U, right? Because it was Kelly. Although, see, the thing with Jim Kelly, right, is he went to the USFL, which is a different draft. So, and then Bernie, and then Vinny, and so growing up, it was like a lineage of quarterbacks, and then that stopped.
Right, but they also usually played for a couple of years. So
correct. Yeah,
that's why it was like one after the other. But 81 to 84,
Yes.
86, kind of a thing.
Right.
Using those numbers as examples, not actual years. So please don't get in the comments and say, well, actually, it was. I know. That was illustrative only. You know what I mean, guys. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see Darian Mensah. I think that he's going to be very, closer to Cam Ward than Carson Beck. I'm expecting like a mid-high to a first-round pick from him. And I'm expecting real dynamicism from him in this offense, especially in particular with the vertical passing game that will hopefully be present in a way this season that was not last season. And we're going to definitely talk about Darian Mensah more throughout the offseason, and then next draft season. No doubt.
I have a question, and I've been wanting to pick your brain on this for a while, which is, given the state of NIL and the impact that money is having in college athletics, especially in football and basketball, but in football in this case, when a player in high school is looking around to, hey, where do I want to play football? Does like old school things like wins and losses and how many players got drafted and did they develop a guy at my position and he got drafted? Did that matter as much as the money?
I mean, yes and no. It depends. I mean, there's different strokes for different folks. Like I'm sure that there are guys who are just like line the bags up, whichever bag is the biggest, that's where I'm going. But you talk about connections, you talk about the other parts of the puzzle as well. Think back to Jackson Cantwell, right? We all know that he got a gigantic bag from Miami, and everybody was offering them. And Georgia tried to really, really up the number to get him away from Miami, but then he's like, well, I feel connected with the coaches. I trust the development. I see 5-star offensive tackle Penei Sewell, who's probably the best lineman in the league now, playing for my Lions. 3 years in a first-round draft pick, playing for Cristobal and Mirabal. Francis Mauigoa, when he comes to Miami, 5-star, 3 years in a first-round draft pick, playing for Mirabal and Cristobal. Next up, that's me. Like, they have well worn the path that I want to travel. So I know that there was a factor for Jackson Cantwell as well as the finances. And there are different things that impact. But I mean, we are and have seen, especially relative to Miami, teams being very, very frightened of Miami collecting talent like this is Butch Davis in the late 90s going to the turn of the millennium. And then they come in late with big bags that nobody wants to talk about. But, DJ Jacobs, the defensive end from Georgia, when everybody pretty much knew, he's coming to Miami, Ohio State said, name your number. And he named a number, and they were like, cool, we're going to add 10%, 20% on top of what you just said. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to Columbus. What? His family was pissed. They all had orange and green stuff, right? But at the 11th hour, the bag got boosted. I know we're going to talk about it later. Myson Johnson-Cook, bag got boosted to go to a place where, hey, do what you want to do. And again, free will exists and you can make choices. Choices work for everybody. We're going to move on. But that's the short story long to say that, yes, other things do matter, but in some major recruitments and just for some people who are certainly tuned, money, cream, cash rules everything around me, let's make it happen.
Speaking of which, as soon as Ty Simpson got drafted, I was like, yep, you could have made $6.5 million to come play at Miami for a year. And then everyone just looked at me and was like, he's just got drafted in the first round going to the Rams to play for Sean McVay. Yeah, don't even talk about it. So anyways.
I don't believe that number for a moment, but whatever.
I mean, whatever. He threw it out there. Whatever. All right, we're going to take a break. We've got some breaking news, relatively speaking. Not like it just broke right now on Sunday evening when we're recording this, but news that broke just a couple of days ago about the University of Miami and its athletic director. We will get to that and more.
Indeed.
On the other side, you're listening and watching the Real Ones Canes podcast. And we are back here on the Real Ones Canes podcast. The man who is pointing at you if you're watching. But if you're listening, you can't tell that he's pointing at you. But it's okay. He is. I'm telling you. I swear. He's virtually sitting next to me. He's Cam Underwood. He's a managing editor at StateofTheU. Go check out StateofTheU.com. We will show you all of the great content that is at StateofTheU in a moment. Follow Cam on Twitter at Underwood Sports. I'm Brian the Beast London. Follow me at Miami Radio Beast Cam. State of the U is just completely loaded with Canes draft content. Let's show the people what is up at State of the U right now.
Let's do it. Shout out to Jake Marcus for being the lead editor and then also of the NFL draft stuff. And then also Justin DeTavio, who hopped into the film room to break down some prospects, players and where they're going to fit. So we have all 22 film reviews for Francis Maui-Noa, Ruben Bain. I think those might be the only ones there. But then, a draft piece for all of the people who were drafted, as well as Jake Marcus talking about the 9 stories of Miami's 9 draftees, and calls it the best draft class in 2 decades. I'm sure you want to read that and find out more. StateofTheU.com is a place where you should go.
Yes, it is. Go check it out. All right, we got to get to this breaking news. So I was kind of caught off guard by Pete Thamel's news the other day that Dan Radakovich was going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And the likely replacement was going to be, if you're a South Floridian, our old friend Michael Yormark, who used to run the Florida Panthers when they were terrible. And I have lots of thoughts. The interesting thing is that Barry Jackson and Michelle Kaufman, both from the Miami Herald, said they had this story 7 weeks ago, that they continued to press Dan Radakovich and other sources about, hey, we're hearing you're going to retire. We're hearing all this stuff. And they just continue to get kind of deflected on the story and couldn't report it. Because even though you hear something, you need confirmation. You need a second source, a third source, especially for something like that, right? You can't just go with Dan Radakovich is retiring and he flat out tells you, no, I'm not. You can't. That's not a story you can go with. So Pete Thamel gets the story, and I'm conflicted in several ways about both of the moves, both Dan Radakovich retiring, because I think he's had good and bad as Miami's athletic director, and also the idea that Michael Yormark seems to be the guy that's being targeted. I have thoughts on that as well. But I will throw it to you first before I opine on both sides of that as to your thoughts, your feelings about what is happening here.
Feels like Miami's going in a new direction, looking for a more business-minded individual to lead the athletic department. I think that this, to me, feels and smells more like a quote-unquote, air quotes if you're listening, retirement.
Yes.
You're being asked to retire, encouraged to retire, so very much because you're retiring, right? Thanks. Yeah, it's not a you're retiring, it's a you're retiring. Kind of a thing. So, tone and inflection making the difference. At first I was like, yo, Yormark, I didn't know. So this is the Big 12 commissioner's twin brother. I did not know.
That is
because I saw last name Yormark. I was like, didn't he just get the Big 12 job? That's Brett Yormark. That's the other one. Michael's the one. So I'm like, oh, I was that day years old that I learned that. Somebody who's worked in sports for a long time. He's the president and CEO of Rock Nation Sports currently, is Michael Yormark. His first, big kind of C-suite job was with the Yankees and then the Tampa Bay Lightning and then obviously the Florida Panthers and a couple other stops along the way. So, I mean, this is somebody who's been in the upper echelons of sports management and business for, a good long time and whatnot. And on that side of things, looking for a veteran business mind in that role or a more business-minded person, I have no problem with it. You clearly do have issues with the good Mr. Yormark. No, don't hem and haw and shrug and everything. You do.
Well,
and that's perfectly fine. Well, I just don't know them necessarily because, I didn't pay that close attention to the Panthers back in the day or, report or anything and know any of the inner workings to where, I would have an opinion further than what I've seen and read and talked about. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts and opinions because I believe that you have them and they're strong. So please share.
Okay, so first let's start with the Dan Radakovich part. And I want to, before I get to my thoughts on Dan and the job he did, here's something that I don't know if I said it on this show at the time, but was a sign that I should have read into. So at Media Day for the National Championship game at the Miami Beach Convention Center, it was swamped with media, and to get a question into anyone was tough.
Uh-huh.
But I did get a question to Mario Cristobal. Actually, I might have gotten two. But one of the questions I asked him was, Mario, can you talk about how important that vertical alignment of leadership is from President Echeverria to Rudy Fernandez to Dan Radakovich to you? And when he answered the question, he had a ton to say about President Echeverria. He had a ton to say about Rudy Fernandez. He had nothing to say about Dan Radakovich, completely skipped over it. And at the time, I was like, oh, well, maybe he forgot.
No,
but exactly. Right. And then I walked, then after, like in the moment as he was answering, I was like, oh, maybe he forgot. And then as I walked away, because I saw Dan Radakovich talking to one journalist off to the side, I was like, oh, let me go walk over and talk to Dan, because he doesn't have like a swamp of people around him. And as I'm walking over, I'm like, wait, Mario just purposely left out Dan Radakovich. Yeah. So then when I got to Dan, I tried to ask him that same question, like maybe 2 or 3 different ways. And every time he just gave me like, I don't know, like stuff came out of his mouth, but it didn't really answer the question. I was like, there's something here. Like there's something going on here. And I just kind of filed it away and didn't really think about it after that. And
until this week,
right. So let me just talk about Dan real first. Listen, Dan was known throughout, and this is how I know. I had met Dan when he was at Georgia Tech. Then he went to Clemson, and then here. Dan was known as a facility builder. He was the guy that you brought in when you needed buildings built and programs built and stuff like that. That's what he was. That's what he was good at. And to obviously, with the amount of cranes and concrete and things going on at the U, like he successfully is doing that. Now, he never got that stadium built at Tropical Park, but hey, whatever. We didn't think that was going to happen anyways, although there were certain people that are still upset about that. I know, Cam's giving me a look. I'm being facetious. Listen, he made a great hire in Jay Lucas, right? If he made that hire. I'm going to assume, but I don't know. There's a couple of other hires. I'm just going to leave it at that. Just he did not hire Mario. Mario was hired before Dan. But I would say this. You can't fault him when under his leadership, the football program goes back to the title game and the men's basketball team went to the Final Four. Like, those two things are very important and did a lot for the school and obviously ushered in really the big part of NIL with the University of Miami. So for that, he gets credit. For some other stuff, As for the Michael Yormark part, like I can tell you because when Michael Yormark was in charge of the Panthers, I worked at WQAM. We were the flagship station, and we did a lot. We had a very big relationship with the Panthers, and I can tell you that listen, he didn't control the hockey stuff, right? He wasn't the hockey guy, but he was the president of the organization, right? So certainly there was a lot of things that happened under his leadership at the Panthers that were not good. Now he did increase their sales. He did, increase their branding and what have you, and like their partnerships, right? Despite the fact that they were bad, he always managed to have big sponsors and all this stuff. So that's something, right? That's something. But the play on the ice and a lot of other things were terrible. And I can tell you from talking to people that worked for him, he was not well liked by a lot of people. On the other hand, I know someone that worked for the Panthers for him and worked at the University of Miami and says that he is the best boss in sports he's ever had because of his ability to get sponsorships and be able to make things happen despite the product on the ice. And so that brings us back to good or bad with Michael Yormark. And I will say this. One, I really hope there's like a bigger search, or at least we interview other people for the job and not just like have decided months ago it's going to be Michael Yormark because, you know, he's been hanging around the U because his daughter's a sensation and he lives in Boca and what have you. I hope that we at least do our due diligence. I would expect my alma mater to conduct a search that way. But if he's the guy, listen, it's obviously, like you said, that job is becoming something different.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's about sponsorships and making money and to support NIL and everything else, he's probably great for that job. If you're going to trust him to hire coaches and get involved in some of the other stuff, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that.
Fair. And I think that, you know, he will have to have advisors to help out with that. And, you know, like Echeverria and Fernandez are going to be a party to any major decisions that are made anyways. My thing about it is this. Geez, I had a really good point.
You often have a really good point. Are you saying that it left your brain?
Yes.
Should we do the game where I'm like, starts with an A, starts with a B?
Oh, man.
Well, let me opine for one more moment while you marinate. And the interesting thing is, as we take a 35,000-foot view, is what is the role of the athletic director in today's college athletics? And right, like
I remember.
Okay, it's just like I just want to point out, like, you know, media deals. You got to be good at. You got to be good at the money, and it's always going to be about sponsorships and money now because you need that money to field the best teams on the field, right? Money is driving everything. Certainly, you need a great coach. You need the facilities. You need all that stuff, but you better have the dollars, and that can't just all come from donors if you're the University of Miami. It's going to have to come from business sponsorships because of the nature of the market that we are in.
Agreed. The point that I was going to make was relative to the name getting leaked. I believe that the reporting from Andrea Adelson, Pete Thamel, and Ross Dellinger, those were the first three who kind of had it all at the same time, and they all kind of shared that credit on social media, so I want to mention all three of them, so as not to pay anybody short shrift. This was the soft launch. This was we're going to float a name and get the free market research of put the name out there in major outlets of Yahoo and ESPN and see what shakes. So it is my supposition that the due diligence has been done previously, as in they've been working on this in the background over here for a while, and they now came to a point of, if not firm clarity, of where, okay, we are leaning heavily this way, let's float it out there in the media, place this story, which, you know, it's the cost of doing business. You know, whether you're talking about sports or business or politics, this is what people do, or what organizations do. They have an idea, maybe, I'm not sure, leak it to a couple journalists, they put it out there, and then you kind of you check the temperature that way. I think that's where we are with it. So I think that the University of Miami has been doing a search, even if it's been kind of in, you know, behind the scenes, and not like, you know, fire Radakovich and then search for somebody. But yeah, the fact that there was a name leaked, I believe that is indicative of the fact that the process has been ongoing, point where, okay, we need to kind of stress test this. So that was just that's my read on it, and my counter to your thought of like, well, I hope that the university does a comprehensive, you know, check and search and everything. I think they have been doing that already.
All right, that makes sense. Like I from one person I talked to that does not work at does not work in the athletic department, I will say. Has worked in sports but doesn't work in the athletic department currently, used to but not anymore. Let me know that that your mark was, if this comes to fruition, like from the get-go, was the guy they were thinking about. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And maybe they did sit around a table and throw out some other names and contact agents and what have you. Maybe.
You have to. Right. And I mean, I'm sure they're good. Okay, this is our home run target, right? Let's look at 4 or 5 other names. Who else could potentially fit? But if we have a guy at the top and like everything's gravy, then I have no reason to not go with the name that I thought. But I put it very far past the leadership of the University of Miami that they had a singular thought of a singular candidate and they did not do any other due diligence or evaluation. I just don't believe that.
What do you see as the challenges or the things that we still have to fix or work on in the athletic department that Michael Yormark will be presented with when he gets here? If he gets here, if he takes the job, if it's offered, all of that stuff.
I mean, sponsorship, so that there's funding for non-revenue programs, your Olympic sport programs, if you will. Your swimming and diving, your tennis, your women's soccer, because we don't have a men's soccer team. I don't know why, but okay. Well, I know it's for Title IX and count numbers.
Same reason why we don't have a men's golf team in the golf capital of the world.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that there's that. I mean, a measure of facilities, but not really, because you're hamstrung by the physical space in Coral Gables. So then you would have to look elsewhere.
Our good friend Brandon chimes in every once in a while in our group text, and he's like, "We need a football-only facility." And I just want to be back. Where would you like to put that?
I mean, look, I know that they tore down my old dorm, Stanford, yes. and heck,
but they're building a village there.
That's what I'm saying. They're building more student housing to continue to increase the student count right. So like, you're not going to put a football only facility over the IM fields because you had to have green space for students, right? So like, where are it's just so. I mean, there's a measure of that, but overall, I would just say consistency in the department as a whole. Yeah, in the department as a whole, and maybe addressing some coaching.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, like we were talking about, if he's more of the business person and less of the sports person, in terms of like X's and O's and coaching personnel and things like that, plug into your local resources and come up with some decisions. I would think that those are basically the things. But I mean, I really buried the lead here. The main thing for anybody who is the athletic director of the University of Miami, of any name at any time, ensuring that the football program stays to the level of excellence that we've seen, if not higher. That is A1, number one, with a bullet. Nothing else matters because everything else follows from there. So even if you're talking about whatever it is, the football program, it's back from the dead of mediocrity and non-relevance. Relevant but not good performance. You have to steward the program so that it stays to this level, if not gets even better. Everything starts there.
By the way, we kind of talked about it, but we didn't focus on it for a second, which is the power structure at the University of Miami as it relates to athletics is clear. Yeah. And that is, we have a president who literally loves football. Like he is as much a fan, and I've seen him in the bowels of the stadium after games, and he loves, he'll come into the press conference and he's hugging players. This Joe Echeverria freaking loves him some football. And his right-hand man, Rudy Fernandez, also loves him some football. And so you have a power structure where, regardless of who the athletic director is, those two are going to make sure that the football program at the University of Miami has what it needs to be good.
Right, but if you're looking at the job description, right? I know that I did it backwards. It's cool, like manage all financing, ensure football. Like it has to be like a top 1 or 2 or 3 bullet point in the job description. Like if you're not if you're only focused on these other things and you're not trying to talk about football being the U again, where everybody on Monday Night Football or whatever broadcast, the U, not the University of Miami, which we basically were for a long time, but the U, like it was, if you're not trying to be about that life, you're not trying to be our athletic director. Periodpointblank.com in the story. So, yeah.
Any chance we can get him to focus a little bit on some media relations situations? Or no, that's...
How is that going to help the bottom line, Brian? If I'm a businessman.
Oh, it's not, but it's going to help my life.
Oh, well, so. Then, I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're looking at a bean counter for the warm and fuzzies, I get it. And hey, look, I was there at the national championship game. I know the food that we had at the national championship game, which was a game at Hard Rock Stadium hosted and ran by not the University of Miami Athletic Department. I am aware of what that was like as opposed to a normal games kind of,
I will just say this. I put in a request.
Oh, Lord.
An interview request a week ago. I have not heard back yet.
I was going to say, didn't you put one in?
Oh, yeah. No, I've put in several requests over the last, for a long time. And
well, yeah, I meant specifically.
I have not heard back on any interview request I've ever put in recently.
There's a specific one I know for a fact that we talked about in the press box that you put in like around or before the Notre Dame game.
Yes.
And it didn't come through.
Correct.
And then and everything. Yeah. And it's funny because I've done similar kind of things, or, we've had pieces written at StateofTheU.com where, hey, commentary and analysis, and like, hey, if I feel this way or somebody else on the staff feels this way, they're going to write a thing. And then I hear from, people.
Right.
Well, did you consider? No. He wanted to write this article with this foundation and this research and this opinion point. No, I didn't push him to ask for an interview for a quote from the person that he was writing about because he feels the way he feels and has relevant statistics or whatever. So, like, these things are, right. That's what I'm saying. But hey, it is what it is. But I mean, look, maybe, hopefully, you'll hear soon. As he's going to spit his coffee out and everything.
I will not hold my breath. Hey, real quick before we get out of here.
Yes.
Recruiting wise, Miami losing out on a running back. They've been targeting for a long time. Big deal. Not a big deal.
Not a big deal. It is what it is. Myson Johnson Cook decided to buy take the money and drink the Kool-Aid to go to Auburn. And I know with, Golish and them, I know that they need a running back to run that offense, but I think it's kind of crazy that, we had 3 offensive linemen drafted in this draft, and we'll continue to have linemen drafted and have a way better offensive line and, lean on our running game even more. But I mean, hey, he's taking a chance and going on a flyer, is basically, do you want to work for, a big company or do you want to work for a startup? And I guess he's taking the chance to work for a startup. Good on you if you want to do that. I just think it's kind of ridiculous. I just don't agree with the choice. But hey, it's his life, and everything. Good luck, Godspeed. Miami's going to move on to 4-star Ty Keys. We've already been in connection with him. He's a very dynamic running back. He's not as big of physical stature as Myson Johnson Cook, but he's definitely a 4-star who can do some stuff. Ty Keys, like Keys, Javis. So look him up. That's a name to know. There's another couple backs who are on the board as well. And the running back room is stacked. So maybe that was a thing that also drove Myson Johnson Cook away, even though he would have definitely been a player who could have played here. With the way that the running back room is stacked, I believe that we'll be okay. And we've also proven if we need to get a stopgap guy for a year, we'll go do that. Remember AJ Allen?
Yes.
He came from Nebraska.
Nebraska, yeah.
Dynamic. He didn't play that many snaps, but he did work when he got in.
He was serviceable.
He was. Look at Marty Brown.
Yes.
Marty Brown can play. And he didn't start here. He was in North Dakota State. We said, maybe we want another body in that room. So I'm very confident that we're going to get a guy at running back in this class, but also in the transfer portal if we feel the need that we need to go out and get a guy, to fit into that rotation. Great. Or if there's a really top end player and we just say, hey, you're the missing piece for 27 to our super uber dynamic offense. Come on down. So, yeah, I think that we're going to be fine. I would have preferred it if the law firm, Myson Johnson Cook, would have committed to Miami, but he didn't. Good luck, Godspeed, onward and upward forward.
Mark Matthews, the offensive tackle from St. Thomas, arguably, I mean, one of the top players in the country, the top offensive tackle in the country. And I'm guessing it is Miami and Texas A&M.
Pretty much. Again, if you just look at the the talent acquisition, the development, and then the draft status of elite players who play for Mario Cristobal and Alex Mirabal. Penei Sewell, who had the largest contract for an offensive lineman until subsequent guys, superseded that. 5-star goes to Oregon to play for these guys. 3 years, first-round draft pick, elite player, arguably the best lineman in the league. Francis Marinello behind him, 5-star, elite, gets on campus, starts every game, plays almost every snap for 3 years, doesn't miss a practice or anything like that. First-round draft pick, top 10, boom. When has Texas A&M had anything like that? They have not, is the answer. So, cool. If that's what you want to do, and then, like I said, we got Jackson Cantwell already, and we would love to have you come on in, play on the right side, and, keep it moving. But, yeah, it just there really is no comparison in terms of coaching and development between Miami and Texas A&M along the offensive line. I know that Aggies, if this guy gets aggregated and sent over to them, they're going to be upset about that. Be mad at facts if you want to, guys.
Well, they had 3 offensive linemen drafted this year.
Where?
Well, that I was going to say is not at the same positions as the University of Miami.
Exactly.
Did. I mean, listen,
and they were talking all that noise going into the playoff game, and then the offensive lineman Zoom, who ran his goddamn mouth, talking about, Ruben Bain ain't nothing, he ain't gonna do nothing, got whipped so bad they held him back from requested interviews, Brian, after the game. Because he got his butt whooped that bad by Ruben Bain. You know what I mean? And you ran your mouth, we didn't even say anything, but all of a sudden I'm supposed to be first team on SEC. I can block everybody. Hey, nobody got around me till I saw number 4 in orange and green. Right? So even at this level, they're not like that. They're not like us. So, I mean, look, I'm from Detroit. You're from Boston. We both left home to come to the University of Miami and forge our paths and still live in South Florida. And hey, maybe Mark Matthews is saying, hey, I'm going to go chase waterfalls and not stick to the rivers and lakes that I'm used to. And you could do that. I just think it might be stupid. But
there's no waterfalls in College Station.
It was a metaphor for a song, TLC. You knew it.
Oh, TLC.
He was chasing waterfalls. He's not sticking to the rivers. Come on, man.
Listen, man, I will embarrass myself here, but I am a proud sister of Tau Beta Sigma, the honorary marching band sorority, and we don't have to get into that story again. We've already done it. But at our retreat for our pledge class, I had to perform a dance to that song. So,
and you didn't recognize it when I dropped the whole
Cam, I recognized it. I just come on, man.
That's crazy.
On that note, on you not even understanding my humor, we will get out of here. I'm going to do some reporting on the athletic director thing this week. I have some very big time sources in that world of consultancy when it comes to athletic directors in college sports. So I will get some lowdown and I will bring it to this show when we next record.
I love that for all of us. So Thank you so much, man.
Will do. For Cam Underwood, who is the managing editor at State of the U, please go check out StateofTheU.com. It is just amazing. It's open 24/7, 365 and free. Also, while you're at it, subscribe, listen, watch, share, all that stuff to this podcast wherever you're listening or watching. We appreciate that. So for Cam Underwood, I'm Brian Luis London. We will see you next time right here, the Real Ones Canes podcast. Peace.